Hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming and television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV Times, What's on TV and TV and Satellite Week. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 14th of November 2025, including David Duchovny and Jack Whitehall teaming up for Prime Video thriller Malice, and the tragic death of TV presenter Caroline Flack, revisited in a new Disney Plus documentary.
And we'll also be checking out Claire Danes as a grieving writer fixated on her new neighbour Matthew Rhys in Netflix thriller The Beast in Me, and a secret romance across the sectarian divide in 1970s Belfast in Channel 4's Trespasses, featuring the one and only and very brilliant Gillian Anderson. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
The Celebrity Traitors, goodness me, hasn't it had a lot of news coverage? Well, it's also boosted the Scottish economy to the tune of more than £20 million. Well, of course it will return next year. How could it not? What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, you can see little Ant and Dec when they were even smaller, as the box set of Biker Grove lands on ITVX next week. That's exciting.
Biker Grove, man. Why,
Aye.
Lovely stuff. Oh, and that also good timing for I'm a Celebrity. I'm sure they haven't done that by accident. Well, if I was going to say a theme for this week's pod, I would say it's very much about uncomfortable viewing, actually. We're going to start on Netflix with a new 8-part thriller called The Beast in Me. And here's a clip.
Why are you here?
Did you kill her?
What do you think?
Nile Jarvis moved in down the street from me. Maybe my next book should be about him.
This stars Claire Danes, and I guess probably her biggest role was in the sort of espionage drama Homeland. And she's reuniting with the team behind that series for this. Apparently the title is inspired by a Johnny Cash song. And, you wait for one grumpy author to come along, don't you, Hannah? Then you get two in a row, because last week we had in Pluribus we had a rather grumpy romantic fiction writer. Well, Claire Danes in this is playing Agatha Wiggs, okay, who is an author. Her life has been visited by tragedy because her young son died, and you hear more about that as it unfolds. Anyway, a very wealthy real estate guy called Nile Jarvis, played by the brilliant Matthew Rhys, moves into her New York neighborhoods, and he writes to all the neighbors and he says, I want to, it's a kind of suburban neighborhood. He says, I want to put a little sort of paved road through the woods so that everyone can go jogging. Anyway, she doesn't want to sign up to that. And also he's got these dogs that he lets out, and they kind of, they're just a pain, as we both know, Hannah, as dog owners. So, and he delivers some wine to her front doorstep as kind of a sweetener, and she's having none of this. So she goes up there. Oh, and also he was accused but not found guilty of murdering his wife, and the body was never found. Okay, so meanwhile, Aggie is kind of under pressure to deliver some chapters for her latest book, because she had one book that was a massive hit, and then she's got no money, and she's late delivering this manuscript. Anyway, so it's the anniversary of her son's death, so she's not in a good place. And I mean, and if there's anyone who can sort of play pained, strained, tortured, kind of absolutely on a knife edge in terms of emotion, it is Claire Danes, and she's superb in this. But it's anyway. As I say, she goes to visit Niall just to take back the wine. He invites her in for a chat, and my goodness, when the two of them are together, he is a really creepy, manipulative, just a really nasty piece of work. And to see them kind of, she's sort of vulnerable in a vulnerable place, but also she didn't take any crap from anyone. You can tell that. And just seeing the two of them sparring is, it's compelling, but it is, I found it difficult watch, so God knows what's going to, I mean, presumably, I don't know, perhaps she's going to try and find out what really happened to the guy's wife. She's thinking about making him the subject of her new book. Yeah, it's, and you meet her former partner, Shelley. You meet Niles' father, Martin, who is a rather nasty piece of work. He's got a sort of young, glamorous second wife, played by Brittany Snow. So, yeah, I got to say, it's superb. Two leads are fabulous, and yeah, it will grip you, and it will not let you go. What did you think, Hannah?
Oh, do you know what? It's so dramatic, isn't it? It's really properly gritty. It plays on every kind of fear you might have, and the idea that you kind of begin to come close to somebody, and do you really know who they are? And then the more you research into somebody, the more the kind of, well, in his case, a deadly web of secrets kind of, begins to be exposed, and that person isn't really what you think, but then as a viewer you can sort of see it in the glint of their eye. It's just really, I was on the edge of my seat. I absolutely was. And Claire Danes is brilliant in this. I mean, she goes from sort of being a really kind of levelled kind of person, I suppose, to at points being almost completely derailed by everything she's finding out and not wanting to believe it, and kind of, when you question yourself and you think you're almost going mad yourself, that's kind of how and she just plays it. It's so authentic. I think she's absolutely brilliant. And also the part of Nile, I mean, there's something about that man's face, isn't it? That's just so creepy and disingenuous. No, not really something that's in my wheelhouse usually, but I thought this was absolutely brilliant.
Well, are you sitting uncomfortably? Well, prepare to carry on, because on Prime Video we have another new drama series called Malice, and here is a clip.
Hi, you must be Jamie.
Yeah,
Adam, so nice to meet you.
oh man, he showed up.
Imagine me and you, I do.
You're here for the kids.
Yeah, I'm pre-letting, really. Thought I'd see how the other half lived.
Well, welcome to our vacation. I believe that's our song.
So happy together. Sorry.
Yeah, so this really interested me because I'm a big fan of Jack Whitehall, and Jack Whitehall plays one of the main characters, if not the main character, in this new drama, Malice. And we've also, I'm a fan of him, but we've mainly seen him as a kind of particular person, haven't we? Someone that's a bit silly, makes mistakes, a bit of a posh student. We've seen him in all sorts of different things, particularly Bad Education. And so this was something very, very different, because I had to look twice, because this is a psychological thriller. This is something completely different to anything that Jack has done before. And he plays the part across from David Duchovny. The two characters work incredibly well together. So it's a very, very sinister drama. He plays the part of a manny. For anybody who doesn't know, that is a nanny who is a man. I remember that becoming quite a big thing in the States at one stage. And he plays this manny, Adam Healy. And he, on the surface, really is charismatic. He's great with the kids. He's the girls fancy him. And also, although this is very sinister and there are places, and it really ramps up throughout this, but there are places where it's really quite humorous too, and you see a bit of the kind of the Jack Whitehall that we sort of know. But this Manny, this Adam, he has a very bitter and vengeful obsession, particularly with this family that he is now working for. And Jamie, who's played by David Duchovny, he kind of straight away works out something not quite right about him. I'm not quite sure what it is, but everyone kind of looks at him and say, well, he's absolutely fine, no worries. But everywhere anyone is, he's always there lurking. There's kind of lurkers. That is the part that Jack Whitehall plays, and it is incredibly sinister. I just can't. I was quite surprised at how far it went in terms of its pretty violent in places, actually. There is a hammer involved in one scene. And his vengeful nature, again, I suppose I was reading the interview with Jack Whitehall, and he filmed this at the time that he was just having his first daughter, his only daughter at the moment, and he said it plays on the fear of the people you're trusting your children with somebody, all the time, and how much do you really know about them. So over time, this vengeful nature comes out, and of course, this is where this whole drama goes. It's really different for him. I really enjoyed what I've seen of it. I thought it was really well done and really credible, because at first I thought, oh, here it's Jack Whitehall, he's going to revert to form. But he doesn't. He's clearly spent a lot of time studying this kind of character. I think he said he watched some really inappropriate things with his baby on his lap, during the night feeds, just to try and kind of get his head round some of this, as I say, more sinister stuff. What did you think, Ian?
I thought it was very good, I must say. And, we knew that he's so talented, Jack Whitehall. I mean, I never particularly took to him as a stand-up, but he is a writer. We know he's a good actor, but as you said, it's tended to be sort of, comedic roles. Like, I remember him in Fresh Meat. He was great in that as posh student JP, but you kind of felt probably pretty close, quite close to home. I mean, obviously not such an idiot. He's no fool, Jack Whitehall. But yeah, this is something different for him, and he absolutely smashes it. It's great. And it's quite nuanced, because this Manny Adam, it starts off in Greece, where David Duchovny's, beautiful. So Jamie, played by Duchovny, of course, Fox Mulder from the X-Files, he's very wealthy, so they're in this beautiful villa in Greece, which he owns. But he kind of feels like there's quite a lot of freeloaders there, like, say, his wife's friends has brought her family for kind of like a free holiday, and then of course Adam is there, Manny, and he kind of joins in. So yeah, you can kind of feel like Jamie makes all these comments about, well, I'm paying for everything, but it's not that he's a kind of nasty character. He's a successful businessman, so he's kind of fairly plain speaking and ruthless, but he seems to get on with his wife okay. It's not sort of like, oh, their marriage is on the rocks, But and Adam, again, he's very charming. He's quite knowledgeable about unexpected things like Greek mythology. And he's really good with the kids. But as you say, yes, there's this agenda, and you see him kind of snooping around the villa, looking at people's private belongings. And then he takes Jamie to a strip club and gets him drunk. And it's just a really creepy vibe. And you just think, oh, God, where is this going to end up? But yeah, I thought episode 1 was excellent. Whitehall is really good as this sort of, very, very charming young man who has, a dark side that is going to be revealed, we think. And Duchovny's great. As you say, I mean, certainly, I think it starts off in Greece, and then he's going to go and work for them in their home, I think in New York. But yeah, it starts off really well, and this is one I would certainly binge watch my way through. Over on Channel 4 streaming, you might have caught an episode of this already this week, but it's available as a box set. It's a new drama called Trespasses. And here's a clip.
Mixed marriages are an abomination.
Daddy was beat up for loving me, Mummy.
I think about you all the time. Come tonight.
It's dangerous.
We must find the bravery to choose freedom over fear.
If he's anything like my husband, he'll have them off in 5 minutes.
Are you happy?
Too happy. Where have you been all night?
Gillian Anderson, Hannah, one of our all-time favourites. And of course, she starred in The Fall, didn't she, as a detective trying to capture a serial killer. That was filmed in Northern Ireland, and she's back there. So this is set during the Troubles in the 1970s, and she plays Gina, who is, well, she's got a serious drink problem. And her daughter, she's a Catholic. Her daughter, Kushla, is a teacher. She's played by Lola Pettigrew. She works in a family pub in Belfast, and there she meets this Protestant barrister who is married. He's called Michael. He's played by Tom Cullen from Downton Abbey. He's just very charming, and there's immediate chemistry between the two of them. However, because of the hatred and violence, the sectarian hatred and violence around the Protestants and Catholics, good old religion there, and of course the partition of Ireland, it's a very dangerous game. And you see her visiting a Catholic friend who lives in a Protestant area, and the dad has been beaten to a pulp, and the neighbours throw dog poo over the fence, and it's just very, very frightening and threatening. And anyway, she starts off. Michael says she's a native Irish speaker, and so Michael and his friends ask her to come to dinner and teach them some Irish. So, but again, because of this sort of backdrop of violence and hatred, it's a difficult watch, because obviously they've got this fantastic chemistry and connection, although of course he is married, but you just know this is not going to end well. It's a really great evocation of the era and of the Troubles, right down to the orange Austin Allegro that Kushla drives around in. So yeah, and all the fashions as well, and of course Gillian Anderson absolutely nails the accent very well. Easy to overdo the Northern Irish accent, isn't it? But yeah, I thought it was great. It's based on a book, actually. Really enjoyed it. Recommended. What did you think, Hannah?
Oh, I just thought it was brilliant. I mean, it's always, you've just said it, risky, any accent, but a Northern Irish accent's particularly tricky, isn't it? And I thought she absolutely nailed it. I mean, she really did. And she seems to be the sort of person that absolutely fully immerses herself in a character and does absolutely every bit of homework. Because for me, from what I've seen of this, and I want to binge watch the rest of it, I've got to be honest with you, is the fact that I'm learning something. I think we all know about the height of the violence and the Troubles in Northern Ireland around that time, but this really, really brings it to life and makes you realise you can't fall in love with the wrong person, the person on the different side, and what that really looks like and how utterly terrifying that is. And when she's begging them not to harm her family and hurt her family, and it's just it's a stark reminder of a time that was not that long ago, really. And I just think every single person in this brings that whole scenario to life really, really well. I don't think there's anyone in the cast who's a weak link in this. I think everybody plays an incredible part. You're immersed in it immediately. You're kind of on the edge of your seats, really. And I say, I'm learning something about an era that really wasn't that long ago.
Well, we're going to finish over on Disney Plus with a 2-part documentary series called Caroline Flack, Search for the Truth. And here is a clip.
Caroline Flack.
One of Britain's most loved presenters.
Has been found dead in her flat.
You don't imagine your daughter's going to be so successful. You just sit back and watch in amazement, really.
Love Island, Strictly, X Factor.
It's the best job in the world.
She was top of her game.
The former Love Island presenter has denied charges of assaulting her boyfriend.
We saw the tide turn on her.
Yes, so this was screened to the press towards the end of last week, actually, and some people in our office went and watched it, and there was a real sense after seeing this of just sadness, and of course that's expected, but this sort of delves deeper into this dreadful tragedy. Losing a life, anybody's life, is a tragedy, and this is focused on the very brilliant Caroline Flack, who was a Love Island host. She also hosted a number of other different shows, including X Factor, and she was somebody who was, I suppose, arguably tabloid fodder. She was somebody who made headlines all the time. But this goes kind of deeper than that. I think we all pretty much know the story, or think we know the story. And she'd been charged with assaulting her boyfriend, Lewis Burton. They'd had an argument at the London home. This was well kind of documented in the tabloid press, all the presses actually, to be fair. And her mum, Christine, believes that her death was really the result of a perfect storm. Right from the decision to prosecute her rather than issue a caution. She feels that if she was somebody else, perhaps she would have got a caution, to the lies that she feels were printed in the tabloid press. And this 2-part documentary shows her mission to fight for answers. And so, as I say, it's desperately sad, because anybody losing their life is absolutely awful. But this is through the lens of a mother who, arguably, you should never ever bury your children, isn't that the saying? And that's exactly what she had to do. And she is desperate to, through phones, through voicemail messages, through voice notes, through text messages, she wants to let the public know the truth. She says she's got nothing to lose now. She's sad that she feels there's no redress, but if this in some way goes towards letting people know what really happened, and maybe changing a future for somebody else, then that's what she wants to do. And it's a hard view, I would say, Ian. I think it's a really hard view. I think anyone, whether you're interested in Caroline as a celebrity, as a presenter, or not, is kind of irrelevant. It's just the fight in her mind for justice, and to really get the truth out there, because she thinks people have in their mind what happened when really something else happened altogether. So it's it's very moving. We had a lot of conversations in the office about this. It moved a lot of people who went and watched it. There'll be lots of opinions on this, lots of feelings on this, lots of versions, I'd imagine, too. You have to remember that too and keep that in the back of your mind. There are lots of versions. But through her lens and through what she's doing, it's a hard view. What do you think, Ian?
It was very interesting, and absolutely tragic. I mean, I didn't really watch Caroline Flack as a TV presenter. I wasn't really watching those shows, but it's fascinating to get more of an insight into what she was like. I mean, she just had so much charisma and life, but was a complicated person. You have to say, I mean, there's so many documentaries that we've watched, including the Girl Bands Forever, in which the tabloid press just come out looking absolutely appalling and responsible for terrible things, really. She was hounded by the tabloids, Flack, and being quite a vulnerable person, that was a contributory factor to her committing suicide. Also, there were lies were told about the scene of the crime as well. It suggested that perhaps she was bipolar, because she used to have these great highs, but also terrible lows. And it's really interesting saying that, she liked working really hard because it stopped her thinking about other things. So clearly she had some mental health issues. I mean, she dated some very high profile people, didn't she, including Harry Styles. You get the impression that she didn't always choose her partners well. So it's mentioned that it's suggested that the cause of this fight was because her boyfriend, who was kind of like a low-level professional tennis player, was texting another woman. So, if that's true, she'd picked a wrong one. And I think there'd been some sort of she'd been in another very dramatic relationship before that. There was lots of arguments and, very stormy. And perhaps that was, perhaps she was like that to some extent because of this sort of bipolar type nature. And you just get the impression that the family tried to raise the issue, that it was clear that as the court case approached, I mean, the boyfriend said, I don't want to prosecute, but you can understand the CPS sometimes does have to go and prosecute in these circumstances. And the family tried to raise the issue that like the prospect of this trial is really, really affecting her mental health. They could see it, they could feel it, you know, and yeah, I mean, clearly the mum comes across very well, actually. And her view, which is hard to disagree with, is that this was an avoidable tragedy, you know, and Caroline has been very badly served by various people, but notably the press. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know if I can watch the second part because it's just heartbreaking, really. And there's this lovely archive footage of her. She was so full of life, and just, you know, it really is. Yeah, it's a sad story. But
one of the things I would say about the press is there has to be some difference made between the press and social media, because social media is also called media, and the social media is completely unregulated. And you know how I feel about unregulated social media, and the idea that those trolls were absolutely dreadful, and you cannot underestimate the power of those trolls that celebrities are still facing with utterly no regulation whatsoever. And the other thing, and like I said about the girls' bands forever, is where are the people around them looking after them? The press is regulated. A letter needs to go to them to tell them to stand down, stand back. And I would really, really hope that going forward, these people going into the public eye have people around them that can protect them better to stop this from happening, because it doesn't have to happen.
Now we have got to that stage, young Hannah, my lads, where we find out what the hell you've been watching.
Well, it's quite random, and I did say I'd speak about Strictly every week, but that's very dull, so I'm not... Well, Strictly isn't dull, but it's very dull, me saying the same thing every week. But actually, I caught my daughter watching Bridget Jones, so I sat down with her and watched it, because the most recent Bridget Jones, we sat down with both girls to try and watch it with them, and it was like, what is this? What is this? And now suddenly, they're going back to the originals and watching them, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yes, I love Bridget Jones. Fantastic. Well, I did watch yet another true crime documentary on Netflix. I can't remember what it was called, but it's basically about a murder by a neighbour, and all of the footage is from body-worn police cams who keep getting called to this area for someone complaining about things, and you see it all play out. It's quite gripping. We've just got time to look ahead to next week's offering. So what is on the agenda, Brenda?
Well, Matt Smith will play a chaotic dad on a road trip in an adaptation of Nick Cave's The Death of Bunny Monroe on Now TV.
I am very much looking forward to that. And, our favourite and the women of the moment, Amy Lee Wood and David Morrissey, go from here to maternity. Do you see what I've done there? As their comedy Daddy Issues returns on BBC iPlayer. So, we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, dear listeners,
watching